we'll just take that chunk, okay?
Right, well, I'm Ian Bowen. I have motor neurone disease, which is a progressive neurological complaint which I've been living with for the last six and a half years. It's got to the state now where I'm in a wheelchair all the time. I can't use my legs. My arms are getting quite weak, and so if I have to get into bed, for example, I've got to be hoisted in with a mechanical hoist, and by the way, using the toilet as well. So everything has to be done mechanically. MND Scotland support people with MND by providing goods and services for their use and equipment, and they also support carers. More crucially, they also fund research into motor neurone disease and neurological complaints with the ultimate aim of trying to find a cure for MND, because at the moment there is no cure for MND. So the silly thing is that once I put this on, I can then talk properly.
Right.
The minute you take it off, it all helps.
Right.
And then it gradually goes downhill, because obviously with my neurons being affected, it affects the diaphragm, which is a muscle, as much as it affects my legs and my arms, or my neck muscles, in case you wonder. I'm not just leaning on my hand for the sake of it, it's because my neck muscles are now quite weak, so to hold my head up it helps to prop myself up. Particularly I think for people who have a real problem dealing with the emotions surrounding MND, whether you are a sufferer or whether you're a carer, it can be very traumatic for some people, and the MND Society does have carers and counsellors who work for them, and they provide a really good support for people in that position. But they also provide equipment as well, specialised equipment like wheelchairs and like gadgets to make life a little bit easier as you become more disabled. So it's a very useful resource. The main thing they do with the funds is obviously to run the MND Society, but crucially they support research into the disease, and this means funding universities and medical institutions who can then do specific research into MND. And there's a new one, in fact, in Edinburgh called the Ewan MacDonald Foundation, which is doing very specific research into the causes and the potential cures for MND. It was set up by the father of a lad who has MND, and I know that MND Scotland support them actively. In fact, the money that was raised last year, some of the money that was raised by the BP last year was used by them specifically for that purpose. They need as much as they can get, to be honest. I can't remember exactly what their turnover is, but it's hundreds of thousands of pounds. They need as much as they can get. That's the bottom line. Well, certainly, MND is a rare disease. It doesn't have the same sort of public persona, if you like, that a disease like cancer would have. But it's every bit as devastating, and in fact it's potentially worse because there is no cure. At least with some cancers now you can cure them. With MND there is no cure. it's a one-way street. Once you've got it, it's a case of how long you can stay alive. And so far I'm bucking the trend in that respect, because I've lived with it for over 6 years, and I'm luckier than most sufferers who die usually within half that time. Yes, to give you an idea about how rare this is, my GP has only seen 2 cases in his career, and he's a guy who's in his, what, late 40s? 50s even, yes, 50s. And he's only seen 2 cases of MND in his career, one of whom is me, and the other of which was my father, who was suffering from MND some 15 years ago. The pharmaceutical companies tend not to invest in MND research because of the rarity of the condition and the fact that they can't sell that many of the product, because MND is only treatable, only certain forms of MND are treatable by the tablet. So the number of cases that, or if you like, the number of people who would benefit from the treatment is a relatively low number. So therefore it's not in their financial interest to do extensive research into the causes of MND. And that's why it falls upon the universities and the medical institutions to do that research. And the charity therefore need to fund that research. Potentially it's very valuable. It's quite encouraging now, the British government's attitude to stem cell research is encouraging, and it's good to see that it does allow some research into recreating things with stem cells. Because the logic is that if you could recreate a nerve, then that's exactly the problem that I have. It's my nerves that are degrading. It's neurons that are failing. And if you could make new ones using stem cell research, that is my greatest hope, if you like, towards finding a cure. And I appeal to you to help, not so much me, but people who come after me. Potentially my family, my kids, my grandkids, their grandchildren and so forth. If any of them have the risk of getting this disease, I would like to be comforted in the knowledge that your funds will go a long way towards finding a cure. So please, please donate. Thank you. That's better.